Howdy folks, we're here at Lewis Boat Works for a little hobby adventure, working on this little 12-foot Bahamas dinghy that we just acquired. We picked it up yesterday, brought it home, gave it a really good bath to remove flaky paint and get all the bird's nest etc. out of it. And what this video is primarily for is just to document where everything's at, where the little cleats and fittings and seats and everything else on the boat, so that if we need to, we can refer back to it. And we also have questions that maybe someone out there can help us with about some of the fittings. Some of the holes are in the boat. We know they're there for a reason, to run some kind of line through or attach something, etc. So here's the little floorboards that go in the back right here. They've got a neat little latch hook on the bottom, and we'll show you what that latches into later. Then we'll be using the magic stick extensively in this video, but there's the shadow. We use the stick. Right there is the little latch hook we're talking about. That's there to keep the boards from popping out and floating away if you capsize, or coming loose while you're walking around. We'll come up. Dinghy was acquired in 1937 to 1941. Built in the Bahamas and came to Virginia almost immediately after that point, and it's been there since 1941. But we noticed a few things on it. It's built of all the good Bahamas woods, the Madeira, mahogany, dogwood, some cork wood, maybe some pine. Either, I don't know if the pine's local or came in imported. A few other woods we'll remember later maybe. But rigged with one sail is what we assume it came with, the shoulder mutton sail with the little headboard or breadboard at the top. Pretty full down in the foot. Sail plan kept low for the little choppy breezy waters they could have building up in the bays out there. But so that's how they're built. And then at one point, it's just your carvel planking, traditional building. And at one point on the exterior of the hull, someone added fiberglass in the 50s, which was the thing to do. I think whether it moved or not, you put fiberglass and some type of poly resin on everything during the 1950s. We plan to get that off of there, because it's we want the boat to be able to breathe, be in its natural state. We know it'll be leaky if it dries up, but then we'll need to swell up and tighten up again. But we already can see a few spots down in here where there's cracks, and when we washed out the inside of the boat yesterday, there was water coming through. We're not worried too much about rot, because the boat probably didn't get much moisture other than being outside under a tin roof. And I mean, it didn't spend a whole lot of time in the water, I don't think, after this was put on. So we're hoping that we don't find a bunch of rot in between the fiberglass and the wood. But let's get to the little Geegaws, we'll call them, the little doodads. Got a cleat up here, that kind of makes sense to, if you got to tie your boat off to a dock or something. And look back up here's a little tang. It's well built. It goes down under the stem, is bolted onto the inside of the stem here. Looks like these stems are probably cut out of the natural crook of a tree. Goes back to a backbone, and then back to a little quarter knee deadwood in the back. Also, before we forget, the frames in the boat themselves cut out of natural crooks. Someone would wander around in the forest looking for a branch of a tree had just the right shape, and they'd cut it out and bring it back, and either use templates they'd had from building a bunch of other of these dinghies, or maybe they also used a lead bar they could place in there to get the shape they wanted, and then go over and trace it under that crook and cut it out. So back to doodads and holes in the boat. We're not sure why they're there. So here's one right here. Could be to run a line through, downhaul or halyard, we don't know. Here's another small one over here. See down in the bilge here, we've got the mast step for this forward thwart and a little eyelet there. You probably wanted some way to put a downhaul on your boom, which this boat has. You can see it right there. And you might have wanted some other way to attach the mast to keep it from falling out of the boat if you were to capsize. So those are some potential things we can think of. This boat has 2 steps. The construction is a little different. We can see the original builder seemed like they kind of eased a bunch of edges and put little curves. And by that rounding, I mean this little curve on the end here, so there's not sharp edges. And then later we see this mast step here. It looks like it's made out of a little different wood, and also the thwart appears to be of a little different wood. You can see the difference in the grain of this thwart here compared to the grain of this thwart right here. So second thwart with a couple of holes, could have been for small belaying pins or to run a line through. Coming on back down here is looks like a little dogwood cleat. It could be for the sheet, could be for tie gear down, we're not sure. So if y'all would want to run out to your 1941 Bahamas dinghy in your garage and jog your memory, let us know. These little oar locks are kind of different. You don't see them a whole lot, but they're called a patent swivel oar lock. There's another little piece that comes down at 90 degrees, drops down on that pin, and then it rotates. Probably has an open horn on the top of it. Here, here's your open horn. Drop your oar in and away you go. Here's some more dogwood cleats that appear to be added, and I'm saying added because there's some really fine bronze hardware in this boat, and I'm not sure why they would have gone for bronze cleats in other places and then little dogwood cleats here. So we're thinking these maybe came along with later sail plans that previous owner may have been trying out. There's a little jam type cleat, or maybe open fair lead, we're not sure. See, like here on this seat, you got a little wooden cleat here. And then on the other side is the nice bronze cleat. Same cleat, fair lead set up on the starboard side. In the middle here, we're missing, we assume we're missing floorboards on the other side of this little strip over the keel. They probably came out so they could sponge out the bilge or whatever. And then back here, it's a little mystery. We're not sure if these floorboards ran all the way to here, or some people leave an open space so they can get water out. But if you remember the little floorboards we showed you at the beginning with the little hook on it, there's the little eye right there. And we love seeing these details where someone thought about how I'm going to keep my floorboards secure when I want them secure. And they're just a perfect fit to go back in here. The drain plug is, I'll call it modern day, probably dates back to the 1960s or so. That did not come with the boat. But aft here we've got a couple of screw eyes. We're thinking maybe for a traveler bridle type of setup, because back here on the back of the boom, topping, lift, etc. Now we're working on the transom, peeling off this fiberglass. So far we're really loving what we're seeing. Did a little sanding here. That's how the boat came before they painted it. And back here, this is coming off real easy. You need the remnants of adhesive. In some cases, might be peeling off just the very thin surface layer. In other cases, still adhered. In other cases, like right here, you're leaving a little bit of the cloth on the boat. and in some cases little boats coming off the cloth. But as thick as this is, it is solid as this wood is, it's beautiful grain. It's not going to be an issue. It'll be nice and smooth and get sanded, and we'll decide where to go from there. And on the back, a little fitting for an oarlock for folks that like to scull. And peel off this 1972 or 61 Kmart dock line. You know, this stuff's pretty amazing. It's been on here a long time. It didn't rot. You know, we'll make a decision at one point. I imagine what we'll use will be one of the modern synthetic alternatives. I don't know that we'll go with yellow. It was painted and all the paint just came off when we washed it yesterday, but we love the little detail that they put aft. A little curlicue. And we'll finish up, we'll grab these floorboards, take them back, show you how they fit. You slide up in there, notch into the transom knee, and then they drop in, and you could reach your fingers down under here and hook them up. So while we can't figure out where these middle floorboards ran to, is these cover this entire frame going down through the bottom here in the floor. This, by floor we mean this little horizontal piece. So there's not a little ledge, so they could have, of course, put a little foot on the bottom of the board or had its own little bracket or something. So if you're familiar with this type or have an idea, just jump in the comments, let us know, and we'd certainly like to hear it. Any thoughts you might have on the project. Also, if you have any fittings, here's the bag for the bag coming up. If you have any fittings, see, that's not a bag, we'll find the stuff. But if you have some little nice bronze screw eyes that your grandpa never used or something, you'd like to see them go on a really cool little boat, just send us a note. We'd be happy to take them and add them in. We'd like this to be kind of a crowdsourced project, whether it's information or little fittings. It'd be fun stuff. But here's a little boat. Her name is Henning, after the second owner, who was a Navy Chief Petty Officer, then went to a Navy officer, and then had a fine family and a fine career in Hampton, Virginia after that. And he's got his little thing that every boat should have on it, who it belonged to, where you can bring the boat back to if it happened to escape, go on a great adventure and end up in your backyard. So we hope y'all are doing great, and we're looking forward to hearing some information coming from the usual visitors out there. That about does it.